The views expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome everyone to this week's edition of Insights. This week we'll be talking about a topic that affects 50,000 people nationally every year. April is Parkinson's Awareness Month, and we have two guests that it hits especially close to home for, Mark and Jeanette Beagle, the facilitators of the Alpena Parkinson's Group. Welcome, you guys. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I know this topic affects you guys personally because, Matt, you were diagnosed with Parkinson's about 3 years ago, right?
Correct.
Okay. And can you explain a little bit about your journey and how you found out you were diagnosed?
I used to work on the boats out on the lakes in here, and when I found out I had some shoulder surgeries and I just couldn't get my strength back. Things weren't going right. And so we really didn't know what the problem was, and when we really got into the, going to the doctors, and they were testing me for everything from cancer to you name it, they were testing me for everything, and finally they said, you might have Parkinson's disease, and there is no blood tests, there aren't any, they just do it by motor skill testing, by you moving your fingers, by you walking for the doctor and things like that. And the real telltale sign was when I went to a neurologist in Traverse City, and he said, "How's the medication going?" And I said, "Great." And he said, "Congratulations, you've got Parkinson's."
Oh gosh.
So that's how you know you have Parkinson's, is really by the medication and how it's affecting your body.
Okay, so you kind of had to just go through steps and figure out
trial
what
and
it
error.
was.
Yes.
Right. So how long did that process actually take for you?
It happened kind of like overnight. I mean, it was really, as soon as I started taking the medication, it was like a light bulb came back on in my head that I was missing for 2 years, and my smile came back on my face. And it's been a wonderful, it's been a trying journey, but it's been a wonderful journey at the same time, because there's a lot of wonderful people out there who are dealing with this journey themselves.
And how have you personally dealt with it? What have you had to change around the home, or your medication that you take?
The medication that I take is the key to my journey. I have been doing everything from going out hiking in Colorado and hiking mountains to you name it. I'm doing it now.
Staying active.
I'm staying active, and that's the key.
All right, all right. And Jeanette, for you, how has this affected you?
When Mark was diagnosed, at the very beginning it was really hard because he couldn't drive for a while. Trial and error with medication was a lot. They didn't know, how much to put on him. The diagnosis is he did go see a few different doctors. So he didn't drive. He stumbled. He had to learn how to do a few different things. We did move a few things around in the house because they can become off balance. A few times he did fall and stuff like that. But the more the medication started working and he became himself again, he could go back to driving. Things became more normal again. There are days when he has bad days where it does affect the muscles. Every day is a little different. Some days he just is doing more poorly than other days, where he just doesn't feel good or he gets bad headaches. So sometimes you just don't know. You could plan things and sometimes it just doesn't work, depending on how he's doing that day or how, things are progressing in his body.
Okay. And I know we talked about how it's a very individualized disease.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because even though you were diagnosed 3 years ago, we talked about how the symptoms had probably been there for quite some time.
Yeah. People affected by Parkinson's disease for each one of us, it's just a different, because it is such a very individualized disease, and it's, for a person with Parkinson's, the symptoms and the rate that it progresses can be totally different for each person. I mean, it's just, it's like a snowflake. Everyone's different. You know, it's a wonderful thing, and and at the same time, it's a very difficult thing to deal with because it's so different. Because it'll affect everybody differently. You're going to have to take different medication. Your disease may progress faster than my disease. Mine might, you know, it's just really a wild ride.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so for home treatments, are you just taking medication, or is there different home treatments that are available to people with this disease?
I am presently myself just taking medication.
Okay.
There are some physical therapies out there, some speech therapies, because occasionally a person with Parkinson's will talk a little quieter than the average person. So there are some therapies out there for people.
Okay.
Some really great stuff. We have over in Traverse City, they do what's called LSVT Big and LSVT Loud, which is a phenomenal 6-week program that people can get into, and we're trying to get our physical therapists over here in Alpena to do the same thing, and
That'd be great.
it would be phenomenal for our community. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, definitely. And then how important is the family role kind of in supporting those loved ones with Parkinson's?
I think it's very important because sometimes it's very straining and draining on you. I had to go from not worrying about anything to making sure that he takes his medications on time. And when he doesn't, you can definitely tell. You know, if he misses dosages, it can really throw off his whole day. He will, you know, become ill. Sometimes if I'm out and about, you know, I'll have to remember to call him and say, did you take this, did you do that? So I have to remember things and do more things than the average. You know, it's like, okay, hon, I'm going to the store. You wouldn't have to think, oh, I better call him in an hour and a half to remind him of this or that,
Right.
or make sure he's eaten. There was times when I would go, you know, do my thing, and I'd be gone 4 or 5 hours, and I'd come back, and he hadn't taken his meds or eaten, and he'd be sick the rest of the night because he didn't think to do it.
Because
So,
I had gotten into a project, or
But
you know, I've gotten to the point where I like to do woodworking or something like that.
And stay focused on that
I stay
task?
focused on it,
Right.
and I don't stay focused on the other things as much as I used to. So yes, she's, you know, it's very important that you not only stay active as a person, but you do take your medication, that you do keep your quality of life the way it should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. And coming up after the break, we'll talk more about the symptoms and risk factors associated with the disease. Welcome back. Now we're going to talk about some of the warning signs and symptoms of Parkinson's. And so, what are some of the symptoms that you personally had when you found out?
Some of the symptoms that I started off with were things as easy as, well, they're not easy, but slowness of movement, a rigidness in your body where you're just really stiff, and my face was like a chalkboard. It was just no expression at all, and it was. It can be things as simple as your writing gone from a bigger handwriting to real tiny letters.
Okay. So real
It affects a lot of little things, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And Parkinson's as a disease, for people who don't know, what does it affect in your body? Like,
Parkinson's is a degenerative muscular disease. It affects anything that has to do with muscles. So anything from, you know, slowness in movement to a resting tremor, you know, any tremors that you might get. Some people get restless legs at night. which doesn't mean that you have Parkinson's if you have restless legs, because a lot of people have restless legs and still don't have Parkinson's. So don't, think that, that this is, oh my gosh, I better go to the doctor, I've got Parkinson's.
Right,
Because
don't
no,
get it
no.
confused.
Just one of the things that we deal with. There's so many things. I mean, anything from, anything that has to do with the muscle. I mean, my eyes, I've noticed my eyes in just the past 3 years, I've gone through 2 different prescriptions of glasses. So it's affecting that a little bit.
Okay. So, and then going off of that, who is at an increased risk for inheriting the disease?
Well, they tend to say that it's not a disease that you're going to pick up from your family. Even though I have a grandfather, his mom, a great uncle, a great aunt. I had a lot of people in my family who had Parkinson's. So for me, it's, guess what? I'm going with the other guys that are saying, yes, it does affect, and it does go through families. Now, there are some people who have Parkinson's who have never had a family member at all in their family who's had it. So, which there again, it goes back to being an individualized disease.
Right.
It's very, which is why it's so tricky and why they're having such a hard time finding a cure for it. But they're working.
Right. And so, different stages of the disease, how does it kind of break down?
They have, they put it in a 5-stage disease.
Okay.
I'm right around stage 2 right now, maybe a little bit higher. If you're in stage 5, you're in the highest part of the disease, which probably means that you're in a wheelchair, that you're having a hard time getting around. You may have a hard time swallowing pills, food, things like that. So they've put these 5 stages out there for people, and you can go on any site on the internet and look them up. It's the 5 stages of Parkinson's disease, and it's something that is out there. If you just simply need a local, well, of course you can talk to the local, which is us. If I don't know the answer, I can call Debbie Orloff, who is a wonderful, wonderful lady in charge of the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation.
Okay.
And she's a wealth of information.
Right.
Huge.
And
yeah.
from your guys' experience, how does the different stages progress in a time format?
Well, and there you go. There it goes right back to the individualized again, because everybody's different. And some people it goes real quick, and other people it goes real slow. There's a lot of great things out there now as far as medication goes, that they're saying that it's possible that some of these medications are slowing down the progression of the disease. It's not going to stop it. There's nothing out there that'll stop it yet. But it is going to, hopefully they're finding these ones that will slow down the progression. If they do this, it would be phenomenal. Now, they also have a surgery called deep brain stimulation surgery, DBS. DBS is surgery that will slow down the progression and give you a good, from what the doctors are saying, good 10 years extra of quality life, which is phenomenal. So if they get to the point, of course, it's doctors deciding when you should get it and when you shouldn't get it, and it's a very expensive surgery, so hopefully everybody has insurance. So,
Right.
yeah.
And so as the facilitators of the Alpena Parkinson's group, what's your guys' role in the community with helping those with the disease?
Well, one thing that I have been doing is trying to make awareness, especially with children. We've done a Parkinson's walk with one of our schools last year.
Oh, great.
And we've gone in and talked to the children, read books to them, left books for the school so they can put it in their libraries. So they're aware of, what happens to grandpa, what happens to grandma. So they can understand more. If they see somebody at the mall, walking a little funny or looking a little funny, what's wrong with them. You know, a mom can say, you know, let's check it out. We are going to do this month on the 25th at Culver's Bucks. So people can come in and buy Culver's Bucks, and it helps support the Parkinson's group.
Nice.
Butter bucks.
Yeah, the butter bucks.
That's fun.
So
Fun.
if you like eating at Culver's, definitely come on in and buy some butter bucks. We have made bookmarks and passed them out to Alpena senior citizens. We have done talks, and we go to health fairs. We try to leave information with doctors' offices.
So our main objective as a group in Alpena here is to educate the community on Parkinson's, to let them know that we are here to support them. Support groups are a huge key in any disease, whether it be cancer or whether it be whatever your disease or whatever your problem is. Support groups will give you a 50% better rate of health, or I forget what the exact. It's not. I'm wording it wrong, but it's such a key in leading a great life, is surrounding yourself with these people that are a wealth of information and who already have the disease. So.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us today on
Thank you for
Insights.
having us.
Such great information. And coming up next, we will introduce our new guests and talk more about treatments and options around the Alpena community. Welcome back to Insights. Although there's no cure for Parkinson's disease, there are support groups around the community of Alpena. Grace Marshall joins us, the director of this Alpena Senior Center, with those options. Grace.
Good morning. How are
Hey,
you?
good. How are you?
Real good.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about how there's options for support groups and other things around the community to help people with chronic diseases.
Well, and I think one of the biggest points that needs to be made is that you have to be a self-advocate. If you are not advocating for yourself, working with your doctor, and doing outreach, the support groups, finding different things that are available in the community, then you're shortchanging your process in the disease, because it's a reality. You know, so how you're going to live in that process is your choice in reality. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring, the support group that Mark and his wife offer is phenomenal, and it's a great resource in the community. But there's other things that the Senior Center has to offer as well. And as Mark and I have talked on various occasions, you have to get out there. Depression's one of the biggest things associated with any chronic disease. And so to be able to go out and find ways that you can relieve the stress and the depression of the disease is key. One of them is being comfortable in the community. You know, often when you're diagnosed with a chronic disease, all of a sudden you become a hermit. And that's one of the worst things that you can do. People understand, you know, they might ask questions, they might be afraid to ask questions, but it's how you approach the disease as to how successful you're going to be with it. And so get engaged in the support groups. Get engaged. We have a couple classes at the Senior Center that dovetail nicely into the management of the disease itself. One is called PATH, and it's short for Personal Action Towards Health. And it's a 6-week Stanford University class that we've been trained in that is actually kind of on a support group level, but it's more structured than a support group.
Okay.
You come in and you have certain goals that you set each week for yourself. Maybe it's a matter of getting out involved and dealing with some depression. Maybe it's a matter of getting a little bit more physically active. Maybe it's a matter of reading or doing some meditation or relaxation techniques. But it's all goal-oriented. And participants in that program, and it's not just for Parkinson's, it's for all chronic diseases. It might be diabetes, maybe it's the fibromyalgia, maybe it is Parkinson's, but it's chronic disease.
Chronic disease.
And it is a 6-week class, so it is a commitment because it runs about 2.5 hours each week. That's one of the options that's available. Nutrition is a huge key in taking better care of yourself when you learn of a disease and finding out what works for you. You know, it might be a trial and error, and I think too often we want our doctors to have this magic wand that he just waves over us and he gives us this little pill and it's all going to go away.
Right, but that's
and that
not
doesn't
how it works.
happen. That's right. You have to be engaged in it. You have to be educated in the process. You need to know what's going on with your body, what to expect, and how you can go ahead and and live life to its fullest, even though you have been diagnosed with a chronic disease.
Okay. And at the senior center, how do you guys kind of prepare them for that? Because you were talking about the different stages in nutrition. How do you prepare them emotionally with the classes that you were talking about?
The class is great because it goes through anger. It goes through ways of dealing with that. It talks about stresses, and it's not just for the individual that's been diagnosed. It's for a partner or a family member as well that's working with them through this process. And so you get together, you talk a little bit about how some of the other participants in the class have addressed some of the same things that you might be going through. It's not rocket science, and it's not reinventing a wheel, and it's not everybody's answer, but it is a support system. It's understanding that you're not the only one, with these types of feelings.
Right.
You know, sometimes you sit back and you think, oh my God, I know I'm the only one that is dealing with this, and you kind of convince yourself in your mind. But when you get out and you start talking to others, it's like, wow, you know, there are other people, and they have survived this, and they are living a full life. You know, they are enjoying things that I didn't think I would ever be able to do once I was diagnosed.
Right. And as far as your support groups, how big do you have them in size?
In size, it varies between anywhere from 10 to 18.
Okay.
And so there is a nice level of interaction between all the different participants. And we invite and encourage the individuals to share. There's a sharing period at the beginning of each class based on your homework from the week before. And you don't have to share, but I think that it helps not only you, but it helps others to learn and grow from the process.
Great, I would hope so. And as far as, because April is Parkinson's Awareness Month, are you guys doing anything at the Senior Center?
Actually, Mark is coming in to talk with us.
Okay.
And we do have information available from the Parkinson's Support Group. We have Parkinson's information that's available as well. We have 6 computers down at the Senior Center that if you do not have computer access at home, if you're not computer literate, but you want to come out and surf the web, find out what treatments are currently available out there. I know that he had talked about the brain stimulation process. Maybe you're afraid, you don't have the courage to go in and talk to a doctor one-on-one on it, but you want to find out more about it. Come on into the Senior Center. One of the staff members can sit down at the computer with you. We can surf the web and find out some different sites and some information for you. We'll print it off, and it's there. It's something that you can take home and read and kind of get your head wrapped around it all.
Okay, great. So a lot of different resources for people out there.
Oh, you bet.
And personally, for being the director at the Senior Center, have you seen a lot of cases of Parkinson's?
We do have some individuals right now,
Okay.
and one of the other things that we have that helps support those individuals with Parkinson's is our exercise group. Dodie Lance does an exercise group on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It is you can be at any level and come in and still gain from the class itself the strength in the muscle. And that's one thing that Mark, you know, he's going to go out and climb mountains next week. What a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Definitely.
You have to keep that carrot in front of you.
Don't limit yourself.
That's
I'm sure.
right.
And so going off the exercise class, what kind of exercises does she do to keep those muscles active?
She does a combination of chair and standing exercises. You can use bands. We have light weights that are available. And like I said, it's at your own level. If she does 10 reps, maybe you can only do 3. But that's 3 more than what you might have done had you been at home sitting in your chair, you know. So you want to come in, and it's the laughter. It is wonderful. You think an exercise class is serious business? Oh, no. They find humor and fun in it all.
That's so much fun.
It is.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and joining us on Insights today.
Thanks for having us.
And bringing out the information to get people aware of options that are available for people that do have chronic diseases, and especially Parkinson's.
If anybody has questions, call the center, 356-3585, and we'll get you to the right spot.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this week's edition of Insight. Next week, Marissa McKay will be back with a new topic to discuss.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.